On my birthday, I got a message from my dead grandfather. Happy birthday, I'm alive. Shaking, I tracked the number and found him in a nursing home. They stole your inheritance. Your house, he whispered. That night, I sent his photos to the family group chat. Then I canceled their allowance, froze their accounts, cut utilities, and that was just the beginning. It's better when you're not around. Less stress for everyone, my father said, his voice sharp as broken glass. My mother's laughter spilled in from the kitchen. Oh, come on. Don't be so harsh. But really, maybe you should spend your birthday somewhere else. We've got enough on our plate. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at the dining table where the remains of their dinner lay. Empty wine glasses, a half-eaten cake, crumbs scattered like careless thoughts. They hadn't even set a place for me. Happy birthday, by the way, my sister Sarah quipped, not looking up from her phone. Her voice was thick with fake sweetness. I was going to post a throwback photo of us, but, I figured you'd want some privacy. I didn't even ask why they hadn't invited me to celebrate. I knew the answer. I was the outsider, the one who always gave but was never enough, the one who worked 2 jobs to pay off their debts, the one who missed weekends with friends because mom needed help with her groceries, dad needed his car fixed, or Sarah just needed. I wasn't angry. I was something colder, numb like the January wind that pushed against the windows. Sure, I managed, slipping my phone into my pocket. Enjoy your night. I didn't slam the door, I didn't shout, I just walked away. I walked to my car, sat behind the wheel, and stared at the windshield, trying to remember a single moment when they'd celebrated me, when they'd been proud, when I'd been anything more than convenient. The drive back to my apartment was a blur, the city lights stretching like melted glass. When I got home, I turned off my phone and sat in the dark. I told myself I didn't care, that their words were just old habits cutting new wounds. But at midnight, I turned the phone back on. A single message lit up the screen. Unknown number. Happy birthday. I'm alive. I stared at it. A prank, probably. Some cruel joke from a bored friend who'd found the perfect way to twist the knife. I almost deleted it, but then I saw the contact name. Grandpa. Grandpa, who'd been dead for 3 years, or so they told me. My heart raced, a cold sweat breaking out on my forehead. I checked the number. Area code matched the town he used to live in, but that didn't make sense. He was gone, buried. I'd seen the obituary. The photos of the tiny funeral. Just Mom, Dad, and Sarah. I hadn't been invited. Too busy with work, they'd said. My fingers shook as I typed. Me, who is this? 3 dots appeared. Then another message. Unknown number. They lied to you, your house, your inheritance. They took it. I need your help. I couldn't sleep. I sat in the darkness, the cold glow of my phone the only light in the room. Grandpa's message stared back at me, a glowing wound. Unknown number. They lied to you. Your house, your inheritance. They took it. I need your help. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't deny the chill creeping up my spine. I traced the number. The call came from a nursing home 2 towns over. It took less than an hour to get there, but it felt like a lifetime. The building was gray and tired, the kind of place where time goes to die. When I walked in, a nurse looked up, her smile fading when she saw my face. I'm here to see. I think he's my grandfather. My voice trembled. Her expression softened. You mean Mr. Hardroof? Room 214. I almost ran. When I reached the door, I stopped, breathing hard. What if it was a mistake? What if I walked in and saw a stranger? But I pushed it open. An old man with silver hair sat by the window, sunlight painting his tired face in golden lines. His eyes shifted, and when they met mine, he smiled. A weak, trembling smile. I knew you'd come. His voice was like dry leaves, but there was a spark of life in it. Grandpa? He nodded. I wanted to hug him, but I couldn't move, and my legs were stone. You're supposed to be dead, I whispered. That's what they wanted you to think. He gestured to the bed beside him, and I collapsed onto it. They took everything, boy. The house, the money. They told you I died because I refused to sign it over to them. So they forged it. My heart pounded so loudly I couldn't hear my own thoughts. But they had funeral photos. Everything fake. They buried an empty casket. Told you it was family only, didn't they? Yes. I felt sick. And the inheritance. That was supposed to be for you. You and only you. But they needed the money. They always do. His hand trembled as he reached for mine. I tried to fight them, but they locked me here. Said I was losing my mind. They took my phone, but I begged the nurse. She let me use hers. That was all it took. That one whisper of betrayal, and the numbness turned into something else. Something burning. I stood up. I won't let them get away with this. Grandpa's grip tightened, surprisingly strong. Be careful. They will do anything to keep what they stole. Anything. I walked out of that nursing home, the winter air slicing my face, but I didn't feel it. My phone was already in my hand, dialing. Dad picked up after 2 rings. "Oh, so you finally remembered your family exists." His voice was thick with sarcasm. "I just visited Grandpa." Silence. The kind that cracks like glass. "I know everything, Dad. I know what you did." "You've always been thankless. Save it." Something cold settled into my voice, something I'd never known before. "You told me he was dead. You stole his house, his money, you faked his death, and left him to rot in a nursing home." "Watch your mouth," he snapped. "You don't know anything." "I know enough. I have the texts, the photos. I'm going to the police." There was a muffled curse, then another voice. My mother. "Please, sweetheart, don't do this. You don't understand. We did it for the family." "The family," I laughed. "Or for yourselves, because your idea of family is a bunch of lies." I hung up. They called back instantly, but I ignored it. I went straight home and began digging. Bank records, text messages, photos. I knew where my parents kept their old files, the ones they thought I never touched. But I didn't just find evidence of the house. I found something worse. Transfers. Thousands of dollars siphoned from Grandpa's account over the past 3 years into accounts with my mother's and sister's names. The money was mine. The house was mine. Grandpa trusted them, and they stole everything. My phone buzzed. A notification? A Facebook post. "Mom!" Families are built on trust and forgiveness. Some people just can't let go of bitterness. Underneath a cascade of comments from aunts, uncles, even family friends. Aunt Linda, "Don't worry, sweetie. Some kids just grow up selfish." Uncle Mike, "Ungrateful is an understatement." And then Sarah. "He's always been the problem child, always making drama." They were spinning the story. They were making me the villain. My phone buzzed again. A text from Sarah. "Sarah, grow up. Grandpa's old. He doesn't even remember half the stuff he says. You want the house? Fine. But you're not taking a cent from me. You've always thinking only about yourself." I wanted to throw my phone. But I didn't. Instead, I started taking screenshots. Saving everything. Making copies of every document I'd found. I compiled them into a neat folder on my laptop, labeled it Truth, and backed it up in 3 places. They thought they could control the narrative. They thought I'd back down like always. But they didn't know I was done playing the obedient son. The cafe was quiet, the soft murmur of conversations around me, just a backdrop. I chose a table in the corner, far from the windows. It was perfect. A clear view of the entrance, nowhere to hide. I sat with my laptop open, the USB drive plugged in. The screen glowed with a folder labeled Truth. Inside everything. The forged signatures, the bank transfers, the screenshots, the video of Grandpa in the nursing home, the final nail in their coffin. My phone buzzed. "Mom's message? We're here. Please don't make a scene." I didn't reply. They would regret those words soon enough. The door swung open and I saw them. Dad, stiff and angry. Mom, pale and nervous. Sarah smiling, that fake sweetness that always had poison underneath. They walked over and, without a word, sat across from me. I looked at them and said nothing. Mom broke the silence. "Honey, can we please just talk this through? We're family." "Family?" I let the word hang in the air. "Like you told me Grandpa was dead," I said quietly. "Like you stole his house and locked him in a nursing home." Dad's face twisted. "Don't you dare." I leaned back, clicking a file on my laptop. A video of Grandpa. His weak voice, but clear words. "They stole it, the house, the money, everything. They lied to you." Mom's hand shot to her mouth. Dad leaned forward, his voice a furious whisper. "You think this little show will scare us? Your grandfather is senile. He doesn't know what he's saying." "Really?" I clicked another file, a scanned document of the inheritance. Grandpa's real signature next to the forged one. Silence. Then Sarah laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You've always been so dramatic. You think this makes you some hero? You always act so naive." "Reality?" I smiled. "Let's talk about reality." I clicked the next file. Screenshots of her social media posts. Luxurious vacations, designer clothes, spa treatments. And right next to them, the bank transfers from Grandpa's account to hers. Her smile vanished. You had no right. No right." I cut her off. "Like you had no right to steal the inheritance meant for me. No right to pretend Grandpa was dead." Mom's voice cracked. "Please, sweetheart, we were just trying to protect you. You've always been so sensitive." "Protect me?" I leaned forward. "You left him to die alone. You lied. You stole. And now you want me to just smile and pretend it's okay." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. This is family business. And if you don't shut your mouth right now, you're going to regret it." I didn't flinch. "Or what? You'll lie about me again? Maybe tell the family I'm a failure, like when you said I stole from you or that I was ungrateful?" He leaned closer, his face a mask of rage. "You've always been difficult, always running to others, always blaming us. No wonder Grandpa never wanted you around. I smiled. That's funny because he's here. The door behind them opened. A quiet figure stepped in slowly, carefully, leaning on his cane. Grandpa! Mom went white. Dad's mouth fell open. Sarah actually squeaked. Hello, son, Grandpa said. His voice was weak, but steady. Surprised to see me? You! Dad stuttered, looking like a trapped animal. You told me I was losing my mind, Grandpa whispered, his voice growing stronger with each word. You said I wasn't safe at home. You promised you'd take care of the house, that the money was for the family, but all you took care of was yourselves. Mom's hands trembled. Please, Dad, we did it for you. You couldn't live alone anymore. We tried. Tried? Grandpa's voice was sharp now. Tried to lock me away. Tried to steal everything I worked for. Tried to erase me. Dad stood up. That's it. We're leaving. This is all a setup. Sit down. My voice sliced through the air, and for the first time in my life, he froze. I have enough evidence to expose everything you've done, I continued, my voice cold and clear. You stole. You lied. You abandoned him, and now everyone is going to know. Please, Mom sobbed. We can fix this. We can figure something out. We're family. No, we're not. I looked at them. From this moment on, you are strangers to me. Sarah's face twisted with rage. You think you're so perfect? You think you're some hero for doing this? You think you can survive without us? I laughed. No, Sarah, I was nothing because of you, but now I'm free. I turned to Grandpa. Let's go. You don't need to waste another second on these parasites. As we walked away, Dad's voice chased after us, a desperate, broken scream. You'll regret this. You need us. You'll always need us. But his voice was already fading, swallowed by the silence. I helped Grandpa into the car. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were clear. Are you sure you want to do this? He whispered. I should have done it years ago, I said. We drove away, leaving behind the shattered pieces of a family that never deserved that word. I blocked them all with one tap of my finger. Mother, father, sister. All of them in the messengers on my phone, even on the banking app. The first call came an hour after Grandpa and I returned to my place. It was Dad, then Mom, then Sarah right after her. I watched the phone buzz on the table and looked at Grandpa. His eyes were calm, almost grateful. You really did it? He whispered, as if afraid it was all just a dream. Yes, I smiled. I did. The next morning, I called the bank. I removed their access to all the accounts I'd ever opened for them. I disabled automatic payments that covered their loans, utilities, car insurance. I called the electric company, the water service, the gas provider, and I said the simplest words. Close it. Transfer all bills to the new owners. Every bill was in my name. Every service, every expense. I paid for it all, but not anymore. At noon, I drove to Grandpa's nursing home and packed his belongings. The staff looked at me with surprise. He's coming home, I said coldly, tossing his bags into the car. Grandpa climbed into the passenger seat, and for the first time in years, I saw him smile. A real quiet smile. I thought I would die there, he whispered, as if afraid I might change my mind. They wanted you to stay there, I said, starting the engine. But that's over now. I drove into the apartment I had rented in advance. Spacious, bright, overlooking a park. Grandpa stood in the living room, staring, like he couldn't believe his eyes. This is for me? For us, I said, and for me too. I called the lawyer to ensure all documents for the inheritance, the house, and the accounts were now clean. No forgeries, no false signatures. And then I simply turned off my phone. The next few days were quiet. Almost too quiet, but I savored every second. In the morning, I brewed coffee, sat by the window, and watched the light play on the leaves of the trees. Grandpa started getting up earlier, reading the newspaper I brought him every day. He even started joking. You know, I always wanted to plant roses, but your father said it was a waste of time. We'll plant them here, I said. As many as you want. But my family didn't give up that easily. A week later, I was coming back from the store when I saw a familiar face on the steps of my building. Sarah. She stood there hugging herself, her face twisted in desperation. I know you can hear me, she screamed as I approached. You can't just leave us like this. We're your family. Family? I walked past her, pulling out my keys. Family doesn't bury people alive. She grabbed my arm, her eyes glistening with tears. It was a mistake. They just wanted to do what was best. No, I said calmly, pulling my arm free. They wanted what was best for themselves. I walked to the door. She screamed after me. You can't live without us. You've always been weak. I didn't turn around. But now I'm free. The next morning, the utilities were shut off in the house where my family lived. I got a message from the lawyer. They tried to reconnect everything, but the bank refused them credit. Mom called me over 20 times. Her voice on the voicemail was unbearably tearful. How can you do this? We're your parents. We made mistakes. But that's no reason to destroy our family. Her tears didn't touch me. Then Dad called, first with threats, then with tears, then with silence. I listened to his last message. You destroyed us, but we'll be back. You'll never be happy without us. I smiled and deleted the message. One evening, I stepped out onto the balcony with a cup of tea. Grandpa sat beside me, wrapped in a blanket. You're stronger than I thought, he said. No, and I replied, I just had nothing left to lose. We sat in silence, watching the city flicker with lights. I felt no fear, no guilt. When I walked back inside, I opened my laptop and took one final step. I made a donation to an organization that provides legal support to elderly people who are victims of financial abuse. A significant amount, the same amount they tried to steal from me and Grandpa. I changed my phone number and finally erased all reminders of their numbers. Now I had only one family, and I would never let anyone use me again. The courtroom was a cold, silent battlefield. My lawyer stood confident, presenting every piece of evidence. Forged signatures, stolen bank transfers, the video of Grandpa, pale but clear-headed, whispering, "They buried me alive." Dad erupted first. "This is a setup. He's manipulating you all." The judge's voice cut through his rant. "Mr. Hargrove, sit down." Mom clung to her chair, trying to cry, but the tears were dry. Sarah stared at the table, her face pale, hands shaking. They had no defense. Every lie was exposed, every theft undeniable. Then Grandpa stood up. His voice was stronger than I'd ever heard. "They stole my life. They locked me away and tried to bury me, but my grandson, he saved me." The judge's gavel struck like thunder. "The property and all assets will be returned to Mr. Hargrove and his grandson. The defendants must vacate the premises within 7 days. Dad's face twisted with rage. "You can't do this. It's our house." "No," I said, standing. "It was never yours." A week later, I arrived with Grandpa. A sheriff's car was parked out front. Movers dragged bags and boxes onto the lawn. My parents stood on the porch. Dad shouting, Mom crying, Sarah frozen in shock. "You can't just take everything!" Dad yelled, struggling against an officer's grip. "I didn't take it," I said calmly. You stole it. I just took it back." Mom rushed toward Grandpa, falling to her knees. "Dad, please, we made mistakes, but we're your family." Grandpa looked down at her, his voice cold. "You are no family of mine." Dad stepped forward aggressively, but the sheriff intervened. "Sir, this is your final warning." I watched them shoved into an old, dented sedan. The life they deserved. As they drove off, I saw them screaming at each other, their lies turning against themselves. We turned the house into a home. Fresh paint, new furniture, roses blooming in the garden. The smell of fresh soil and new beginnings filled the air. Grandpa walked the garden each morning, his cane tapping on the stone path. He was lighter, almost happy. "You know," he laughed one morning, "your father always thought he was clever, but he never understood the difference between cleverness and wisdom." "I guess he learned it the hard way, so," I replied. But they didn't disappear. Letters arrived, desperate, pleading. Mom wrote first. "Please, we were wrong. Your father's health is failing. We need help." Then, "Sarah, I lost my job. I have nothing. Please, just a little money." I read each letter, then burned them in the fireplace. The flames licked away their words, as meaningless as they had always been. Dad never wrote, but I heard he lost his job, spiraled into debt, and started drinking. He blamed me, of course. He always did. One evening, Grandpa and I sat on the porch watching the sun dip behind the trees. The roses swayed in the cool breeze, their petals catching the last light. "I thought I'd die in that nursing home," he whispered. "You won't lose this place again," I said. "I promise." A car drove by on the distant road, but it didn't matter. This was our world now. No more lies, no more betrayal. "I'm proud of you," Grandpa whispered, his voice cracking. "You did what I never could." "I did what they forced me to," I replied, and I felt it. The weight lifting, the chains breaking. We sat in silence, the house glowing with the last light of the day. A place they tried to steal, a place they lost,